On today's episode, you'll hear from someone who went from helping a friend run campaigns in Constant Contact to leading the company as CEO. And he hasn't lost sight of what small businesses really need. This is the Be a Marketer podcast.
Be a Marketer.
My name is Dave Charest, Director of Small Business Success at Constant Contact, and I help small business owners like you make sense of online marketing. And on this podcast, we'll explore what it really takes to market your business, even if marketing's not your thing. No jargon, no hype, just real stories to inspire you and practical advice you can act on. So remember, friend, you can be a marketer, and at Constant Contact, we're here to help. Well, hello, friend, and thanks for joining us for another episode of the Be a Marketer podcast. Dear listener, we could do our best to pretend she's not here, but her presence cannot be denied. That's right. The one and only Kelsey Carter is here. Hello, Kelsey.
Hi, Dave. I thought that was going south for a second. I was like, we could pretend she's not here, so let's do that. I was about to be like, yeah.
Let's just keep going and just pretend, I know you might feel something coming at you, like a little aura or something.
You just hear my random sobs throughout the episode.
Every once in a while, there's like, oh. You can hear the tear roll down the side of your face.
Yeah. Hey, listen,
like we would ever do that.
No, you would never. The listeners wouldn't let you.
No, that's right. Always a pleasure to have you here, Kelsey, of course.
Always a pleasure to be here.
I've got to ask you, you are, at the time of this recording, how long have you been in Constant Contact now?
A little over a year now.
Wow, a little over a year.
Yeah, a year and some months. I think it was March-ish when I started, maybe.
March-ish
of last year. So
yeah, wild.
But yeah, so a little bit over a year now. So it's definitely different from when I first started.
Yeah, well, hopefully we're holding your attention. You're having a good time learning some things, and I'll venture to say you're doing some pretty great work for us here, so we appreciate that.
Well, thank you. I feel very lucky to work on this podcast, work with you, just work at Constant Contact in general. Like, the culture is amazing. I feel very lucky with my job, so love it.
Yeah. So coming up on, I guess, September will be my 14th year at Constant Contact, which is wild when you think about it in many
14.
ways, particularly in the tech industry. People are always like, wow. And, you said something that's interesting, right? Culture, and culture, of course, is driven by people. And during this almost 14 years, I've really been fortunate enough to work with some amazing colleagues, people like yourself, of course, but also some amazing leaders. I think the commonality that we all have between us is just this deep passion for small business. And I would say our guest today is no exception. Kelsey, I'm going to go to you. Who's joining us today?
Today's guest is a very special one. It's Frank Vella, the current CEO of Constant Contact, which is based in Waltham, Massachusetts. Frank's journey spans companies like Microsoft, General Electric, and Blue Jeans, experiences that have shaped his leadership style and honestly have deepened his understanding of how to build customer-first organizations. And as CEO of Constant Contact, he's laser focused on making powerful marketing tools accessible and easy for small business owners to use.
Really cool conversation here today. And Frank makes it clear that no matter how the technology evolves, the mission at Constant Contact always remains the same, right? Helping small businesses market and compete against their larger rivals. And he emphasizes how important it is to stay true to your purpose, listening to your customers, and really simplifying marketing so small business owners can stay focused on what they do best. I'm always grateful for the opportunity to work with Frank. His leadership really reflects grounded, unwavering commitment to the people Constant Contact serves. And I'm excited for you to hear this conversation today because you're going to hear how Frank's early experience helping a hair salon with email marketing still shapes his perspective today, why consistency, not complexity, is the key to effective marketing, and the biggest opportunity ahead for small businesses and how Constant Contact plans to help them seize it. Good stuff here with Frank. So let's go to him as he shares more on the experiences that shaped how he leads today.
Every experience is a tile in the mosaic of your career, right? My background, studying accounting and finance in university, to Xerox, learning how to work with customers and selling process. Microsoft was an amazing people organization, really developed people, exposed talents, honed in on people's strengths. And I think I learned how to be a better people manager through Microsoft. I worked at a company called VirtueStream, a startup from $0 worth of revenue. And you really learn how to get things done with little resources like a small business when you're building a startup. And I worked at General Electric, and GE was really a P&L business, focusing on the full P&L, not just revenues, but revenues and costs, and running a full business. And so each one of those experiences come together to shape your knowledge and what you have some experience doing.
I mean, these are varied roles, right? I mean, from accounting to the other things that you're doing. I mean, is there anything that you found that maybe across all of those that feels like a consistent thing that helps lead you to success, for example?
Leveraging great people everywhere is the people is always part of the story. I remember being in awe of Microsoft, that perhaps titles weren't used or titles weren't reflective, or I was too junior to understand titles, but you had access to the greatest minds on the planet, people developing, what is Office today, or what is Windows today, what is SharePoint or Teams today. They were around every corner and you could interact with them, and they were accessible. That was our culture. And this, leave your ego at the door and work as a team to solve problems is what made any experience I had great. And when I was working with great people that were getting things done, we seemed to also be having fun.
Yeah. It's great when you find that scenario where you're in a situation where you have those great minds, everybody is enjoying working together and doing things, right? Moving forward, achieving, I think, is really important. I mean, what attracted you to the role at Constant Contact? Like, what made you say yes to that?
Timing is always a factor. I was a CEO of a company that got acquired by a larger company. They had a CEO. And so timing is one thing. There were many things and various options, not all of them CEO, that were in front of me. I very distinctly remember the call about Constant Contact. First, it was from someone I knew and trusted, an organization that I knew had integrity as an investor and would be a great partner to a CEO in the leadership team. So that was important. And I remember the first conversation was generic. We have this company that we want to take private and bring it back to its former glory. And it works in this space and does this. And it started to sound like Constant Contact. But if you're not interested, they really don't want to tell you the name. And when it came out that it was Constant Contact, instinctively, you knew in your heart, I knew in my heart, this is one I had to pursue. And it's because decades earlier, I had experience with the product where when you work at Microsoft, whether you're in a technical role or not, all of your friends and family assume you're the technical person and they call you to help them with their technical things. Yeah. And I had friends and relatives in small businesses, someone who owned a hair salon who was setting this technology up. And I remember vividly at the time as well, I said, oh, Constant Contact, I hear the radio commercials. They're really cool. I know this brand. And we set it up, and he would have me work with it once a month to help him with a campaign. And we saw how it changed his business. And that same thing happened a few times where I helped a few other friends, relatives build their small business presence through Constant Contact. And then you forget about that and you grow a career and you move on and you move out of the country. That was in Canada. And I moved to the United States 21 years ago. And then it comes back in the context of a conversation. Then you do research, and everything you knew and loved about the company remained true. And so that was the beginning of a series of conversations, a lot of research, my reaching out to people who had been at the company and developing my perspectives. And I knew in my heart, no matter what else I was looking at, this was the one that was the best match, culturally, passionately for me.
Well, let's go on the culture a little bit, right? Because I think, you mentioned it earlier. You probably see in places where this can make or break a company in many instances. How do you think about building and maintaining culture here to, I would say, move us forward, but still honoring the heritage of Constant Contact?
Yeah, culture is many things. And one of the most important ones is a culture where people inherently talk about their customer. If in a few conversations an employee hasn't mentioned customer, then you probably know, or I at least know, I might not be in the right culture, or I'm not building the right culture as a leader. One of the things that predates me in Constant Contact is this culture of customers, our constant. And that's a little bit of play on words, but it's so fitting. No matter who you are at Constant Contact, you know you're impacting a small business, and you know how hard it is to be a small business owner, and you know how important small businesses are to the economy, to the lives of the small business owners and employees, and to the community they're in. And we live that. That is the first tenet of culture. And with that, we could shape a lot of other great things in our culture. And I come back to that was important. If it wasn't here, it would be something I'd be working hard on to change. But my job there has just been to enhance it, refine it, make it more predominant in how we do product and how we do marketing and how we think about our business. And so culture is many things, Dave, but it starts with our, I'd like to say, maniacal focus on the customer. We make it right. Not every customer experience is as great as we would love it to be. And how do we act and react in those situations to make it right for our customers? And I see this passion around making it right for our customers, even if it wasn't our fault. It's not the customer's burden to carry. And I think we wear that on our sleeve here.
Yeah, definitely one of the things that's, kept me at the company for so long, and one of the things that attracted it to me in the first place, right? And so why is that focus on the customer, staying true to the customer? Why would you say that's so important to you?
You could take it many ways. First of all, you want to work in a company where your customers love you. I have been in scenarios where customers didn't, the initial reaction to your brand and your company was not it was not a great one. And you were always swimming upstream. So it's important because it's a great place to be an employee. It's a great place to work, not just for me, but for all, the Constant Contact team. I know you've mentioned this, and to a T, almost every new employee I walk into tells this story. They say, I've worked in a lot of companies before, and you're smiling because you know what I'm going to say. And then they say, and then I wore my Constant Contact swag, and somebody said, do you work at Constant Contact? I know that company. I love that company. I've used that company. And we've all experienced that at Constant Contact. That's why it's important. But I can take it another way and say, as a CEO, responsible and accountable to the financial performance of the company, well, it's just easier to grow a company. It's easier to retain a customer when your brand is trusted and liked, when you have an entire workforce that understands the importance of that. And so building customer trust is also building corporate value. They go hand in hand. And so that's the foundation for everything.
You mentioned, of course, doing some work in Constant Contact back in the day. I think we've all kind of been there too, right? I remember when I was looking for potential places to work, and I was like, oh, I've used Constant Contact. Like that might be a cool place to go, right? Like everybody's got that type of experience. And so when you think about, just the world, right? Just technology, the way we communicate, so much has changed really since the early days of email marketing. From your perspective, what's stayed the same about small businesses and what they need? And what do you think has changed dramatically for them?
When I talk about that evolution, I start with our founder's vision. It's published and we use it internally. And that vision was to enable small businesses to market and compete against their larger rivals. And as relevant as that was then, it is today. And the why is the same. Small businesses have a lot to do. And their primary focus, their primary expertise is not in the area of marketing. It's in what they do and what their business is all about. Yet they have to get their business promoted. They have to get the word out there. They have to be in their community. And time has evolved what is available to a small business to make that happen. Before technology, it was, pamphlets and direct mail. And sometimes that's still relevant today. And email is and was predominant for a long time. What's so special about email? Everybody gravitates to email ultimately because it still is the best return on a marketing spend. Whether you're a small business or your business our size or you're a larger business, connecting with your audience through email has a demonstrated impact. And so that's still the case. Therefore, email is still a relevant part of our stack. But we wouldn't be relevant to that small business if we weren't doing what they did to get the word out there. And today that starts with social and how you interact on social and how you get your brand and your wins and your highlights out there and connect with a community on social platforms. And now the benefit a small business has, if they do it correctly, is what's available in terms of marketing tools is it to any large enterprise is also available to a small business through technology. And that never used to be the case. And so now a small business can run a full-on campaign. And a campaign is more than one touch point. It's more than just a social touch point, and it's more than just an email touch point. It is understanding the difference between Dave and Frank as a customer. What is Frank interested in? What is Dave interested in? How do I market differently? How do I time my events? How do I respond to an action? If Dave clicked on one of my items, an SMS or a social post or an email, I know that. And how do I respond to him differently than Frank that hasn't clicked through? Am I refining my message to resonate with Frank in a different way? And that's what a campaign is. And that sounds very, very, very complicated. But today it's available to a small business in a very simple way. That's why we exist. So when I talk about constant contact, I talk about our customer need and how we help them meet their objectives, whether their objective is growing their business from a revenue perspective, growing from a presence perspective, staying in touch. And that's what's relevant. And the tool that gets that done has changed and will change. And our commitment is to be there leading that change and making our customer relevant.
Mm. So you mentioned, some things, of course, multi-channel stuff, right? When we start thinking about SMS, email, and social, of course, where many things start. In many ways, maybe that is one of the challenges that many small businesses are facing today, right? That there's now so much available to them that you have to figure out, like, one, that you have to learn many things, right? In many ways, versus years ago when, it was the pamphlet, right? Like, okay, I got my pamphlet done, I'm good. So when you think about just where we are and where constant contact comes in, how do you see constant contact as we move forward, really helping small businesses overcome those challenges that they may run into?
Small businesses are going to be successful when they focus on what they do best. And our job is to make sure that we take as little time away from what they do best. Now, you said something, and it all boils down to complexity. Being a business owner is very complex. When I see successful small businesses, I see them leveraging their ecosystem of other small business owners that can help them with something, of associations, trade associations, or just groups, communities of like-minded people that help them solve problems, to leveraging technology to do things they can't do. And it's our job to continuously make the technology as simple and friction-free as possible. And that evolves. I use this sort of analogy. Well, first, a different analogy. Let's use our phones that we call phones today, which nobody uses as a phone. But when the technology only allowed for me to have a phone that was a phone and have a camera that took pictures and have a typewriter that wrote a letter or a computer that did a Word doc, then I had all of that and I was fine with it. When technology evolved and I could do all of that through one device, it made my life easier. But not only that, if I didn't adopt it, I would be behind the rest of the world, behind my competitors. And so we all adopt our smartphones and we use the features there, from email to applications to phone to document creation. And technology is that way. And if I bring it back to us, you used to only be able to do a few things as a small business. Now you can do much more. And because your competitors can and are, you probably have to some degree. And evolving that to continuously more automated, continuously more easy, continuously more robust is our job. And that's what I see as our charter, that whatever is on the horizon or whatever is available today, that we simplify it for the needs of a small business. And notice I keep saying small business. And that's important too, because that is a unique community that has unique requirements.
Well, yeah. Well, I mean, one of the things I often mention is that, like, our tools are designed for small business, right? Which I think, to your point, right, we're talking about larger rivals having access to these tools and then small businesses having access, but you can't just give them the same tool, right? Because they often need a team to be able to work those tools. So I think that's one of the things I'm often very proud to state, that, like, yes, no, these are designed for you to be able to use them. When you think about small businesses, are there any particular areas where you see them often get stuck when it comes to marketing their business at all?
Yeah, they don't do it. That's when they get stuck.
Mm.
It's daunting. I'll go back to my days and my first experience with Constant Contact. My friend, the hairdresser, called me because the task was daunting to him. The combination of technology plus content. Okay, so now we got the technology. Where what do I write? And right, it's daunting.
Yep.
Technology makes it easier, and you have to take the leap. And so we're seeing this. You know that we do small business now. I don't know if your audience does, but we do a lot of research around small business. We have access to hundreds of thousands of small businesses that are our customers, and we do research on millions more that are not our customers. And we poll their sentiment. How do they feel? We poll their results. How are they doing? We poll their needs. What more do you need? We poll their propensity for things like, artificial intelligence and their understanding of it and how they use it. And where I'm going with that is the latest survey results that we have right now indicate that, surprisingly, small businesses are doing quite well this year. And there was a lot of uncertainty in the market that perhaps didn't get us off to as good a start for the small business. The economy and some of the macro elements that were going on made it even harder to be a small business owner. And now, 6 or 7 months in aggregate, they're having a good year. However, when you peel back more detail, you see that the larger of the small businesses, the ones that have revenue and 2 or 3 employees, are actually doing better than the solopreneur. And that's because they have a flywheel, a machine of how they do things, a machine of a network on who they work with, an understanding of technology and how to use it. And so if you've got momentum, you're doing better. And if you're just getting off the ground, it's harder. And the point there is, the data says you've got to take the leap into investing in tools that give you more momentum and more presence.
You mentioned the complexity of all of this, right? And the thing that kind of holds you back, right, a little bit, right? Because it's daunting, right, to use your word there. And so when you think of that married to the technology, what do you see as the biggest opportunities ahead for Constant Contact to better serve small businesses?
You're seeing I'm an analogy guy. I'll draw an analogy. When I first started driving, there was no GPS. There actually was. You would go to a computer and you would print out your MapQuest and you would read it in your car, right?
Oh, yeah.
But that was pretty revolutionary from what my parents would have known, which is a map, right?
Right. Yeah.
And then as that evolved, it got better and better. And we don't tolerate worse once it gets better. And so we know what we have today. Not only do I have GPS, I have real-time traffic. I have traffic, where are there traffic cameras? Where's there a red light camera? Where is there a police? Where is there an accident? All coming at me real time to give me the optimized route. And when I don't turn that on, I'm always frustrated. And so I'm going to use it. It wasn't there a little while ago, and now it's there and I can't live without it. So that's cool because that's what I have. But I could use more. Today, I have to be in one part of the city in the morning and another part of the city in the afternoon. And does traffic get in the way? Perhaps. I want to be teleported to my next meeting. I don't want the aggravation of traffic. Let me bring that back to our customers. Our customers are small businesses. They have 1, 2, 3 employees. They have a lot of things to do. Their customers are their priority. I imagine they want to be teleported into the marketing experience. And our journey has been giving them a tool. Then it evolved to helping them market. Then it's helping them market and taking it from there, making it better. And the journey I want to be on is just doing their marketing. Hey, we're your partner in marketing. We learn your business as your business grows and changes and evolves, and we adapt marketing through technology and our knowledge of you and your customers to suit you. And you just grow. And that's who I want to be to our customers, whether that takes 2 years or 5 years, but it's on the horizon, and technology is making that dream more and more realistic every day.
Yeah, it's amazing how important that is too. I mean, even through these conversations that we've been having with business owners on this podcast, I mean, one of the things that comes up consistently is consistency. And I think that's often one of the challenges with marketing. And I love that vision of being able to get in there, do some things, get things set up, but then it's doing it for you. So you have that consistency, because that's often the thing that makes the things work. And we often fall off a cliff sometimes when we're trying to do it, and we give up just before that thing's supposed to, push that boulder down the hill a little bit to get it really rolling. And so I love that. If we take a step back, Frank, and we think of just as a whole, I mean, you mentioned a little earlier how important small businesses are, of course, in our local communities and just to our country as a whole, whatever country that may be, right? Globally, even if you think about that. When you think about helping small businesses achieve their goals, what does that mean today? And how do we live into that? And what does the impact of our brand look like as we do that?
I think it's a lot of what we've been talking about. The landscape around the small business changes. They have to respond to that. More than anybody, small businesses do a really good job. They might not think they do, or they might not feel like they do. But if you look at the economy over the last few years, if you remember 2023, that was the great, resignation. And that was the year also that evolved into it was going to be a bad economy, and big companies in every discipline laid off people. Yet the economy flourished, and 2024 was a lot of the same. In 2025, we're seeing a bit of the same. And that's off the back of the small business and the solopreneur and the gig worker. And that is what the world looks like. In every economy in the world, small businesses represent anywhere from 92 to 99% of the businesses by count, and 61 to 70% of the workforce that work in a small business in an economy. That's true here in the United States. It's more true in Canada. It's true in the United Kingdom. It's true in Australia. Throughout Europe, economies rely on small businesses. And so our charter has always been small business. In our world, one of the things that small businesses have felt stung by is, I invested in this technology with this company, and they started evolving their product and their price to go up market and deal with a bigger and bigger customer. And it became too, finish that sentence, too expensive for me,
Yeah.
too complex for me. too many features for me. And we are steadfastly committed to the small business. And that hasn't changed in our entire history. And no matter how many times I get asked as the leader of this company, is that our charter? The answer is no. We are not going to chase an enterprise client. We are steadfastly committed to the small business. Why? Because although the results they look for are the same, how the tool works, how a platform gets presented, how you build support is all unique to the ability of a small business. And that's the charter we look for. If we were dealing with companies that have marketing departments and marketing people and their own software, what we would build would be dramatically different. And the outcome might be the same. So if I come all the way back to your question, what's Constant Contact's charter for the small business? It's simply to be there as your growth partner, regardless of what a platform requires, to be that growth partner and to deliver that to you in the most simplified, user-friendly way, where the technology does more and more and more of the work, so you can do less of the work and focus on your business as you promote your brand and you promote your product and you remind your customers where you're going to be and how you're doing.
Love that. Exciting stuff, Frank. Look, we have people that are listening and, will be a small business, but may aspire to grow that business, right? And get to a certain point and maybe even reach places, beyond where we are, right? In terms of Constant Contact. And you've led teams, you've navigated acquisitions, you've scaled businesses, you've modernized platforms. What lessons from your career would you pass along to small business owners trying to grow their own thing?
Stay true to who you are. As a human, as a small business, I have 3 kids, I tell them the same thing. You have strengths, you have weaknesses. Focus on your strengths and surround yourself with people who are going to admire you or your company for your strengths. And to a small business owner, that means don't forget what you started your company for. Life, as you grow your company, gets more complex. You do less of what you love, what you started the business for, and you do more of managing the business and managing the employees and managing the finances. But as a founder, as a solopreneur, as an owner, you are the fabric of that company, and always keep your eye on your customer. So that's one piece of advice. And you can't do everything you need to do. So leverage technology, community, expertise that gets you what your business needs as you grow. And don't forget to market what you do, because other things we look at is if you ask the American population about a small business, the majority say, I prefer to deal with a small business. Then you ask, well, where did you shop last? And it's not a small business. Their intent and what they actually do is different. But when they're reminded, they would rather deal with somebody in their community. And small businesses, we use that term, but there are some fair-sized businesses, whether you're the heating and air conditioning business that grew to 10, 20, 30 trucks, or whether you're the baker that has 4 locations in 4 different communities in a geography. Life gets really complex. And so use the tools and the resources and the support you have, because there's more work than there is time and people and money.
Anything else you wanted to add before we wrap up here today?
I love listening to the customers that you have in our podcasts, the partners you have in our podcast. And so thanks for that. And for those who are listening, if you're a Constant Contact customer, thank you for that. We appreciate your business.
Well, friend, let's recap some items from that discussion. Number 1, don't let complexity keep you from starting. Frank notes that many small businesses simply don't market, not because they don't care, but because it feels daunting. Whether it's the tech setup or figuring out what to say, the overwhelm is real. His advice? Take the leap. Simplify what you can and lean on platforms like Constant Contact that are designed to help you take action without needing a team of experts. Number 2, use tools that are built for businesses like yours. A big theme from Frank's leadership is staying true to who you're building for. Constant Contact isn't chasing big enterprise customers. It's focused on creating tools specifically for small businesses. As a business owner, that means choosing platforms that understand your reality and help you stay consistent without adding more to your plate. And number 3, focus on what makes you great and get help with the rest. Frank encourages founders to stay rooted in why they started their business in the first place. That's your superpower. For everything else, marketing, automation, content, lean on tools, community, and technology that help you do more with less. Here's your action item for today. Try Constant Contact's AI-powered campaign builder to create a multi-channel campaign that includes email, social posts, and more. It's designed to help small business owners get a campaign up and running quickly. You pick the goal, it does the heavy lifting. As always, you'll find links in the show notes. I hope you enjoyed this episode of the Be a Marketer podcast. Please take a moment to leave us a review. Just go to ratethispodcast.com/BAM. Your honest feedback will help other small business marketers like yourself find the show. That's ratethispodcast.com/BAM. Well, friend, I hope you enjoy the rest of your day and continued success to you and your business.